It's not that you don't care. You see the mess. You think about it. Sometimes it's the first thing on your mind when you wake up, and the last thing you notice before you sleep. You've told yourself you'll deal with it 100 times, and every time it doesn't happen, there's this quiet voice that says, "What's wrong with me?" If you've ever felt that, stay, because this video isn't about cleaning tips. It's about what's actually going on underneath, and it might explain something you've been carrying for a long time. From the outside, nobody would know. You show up, you handle things, you hold it together in every space that requires it. But there's a version of you that only exists behind a closed door. And in that space, things have gotten away from you. Not because you stopped caring, but because somewhere along the way, the energy it takes to care about one more thing just ran out. And the longer it sits, the harder it gets to start. And the harder it gets to start, the more it grows. And the more it grows, the more it starts to feel like a reflection of something you'd rather not look at. This is where a lot of people live, quietly, without anyone knowing. And there are real reasons that have nothing to do with laziness or discipline or not trying hard enough. So let's talk about what's actually underneath the mess. Reason 1. Executive dysfunction. Here's something most people don't know. Cleaning isn't just a physical task, it's a cognitive one. Before you pick up a single thing off the floor, your brain has to plan what to do first, prioritize what matters, estimate how long it'll take, and hold all of that in working memory while actually doing it. For most people, that process runs in the background automatically. But for people with ADHD or executive dysfunction, that process doesn't run automatically. A person without ADHD might look at a messy room and think, okay, I've got an hour. First the bed, then the laundry, then... That breakdown of what to do, when to do it, and how long it'll take, it's automatic. For someone with ADHD, that breakdown simply doesn't happen on its own. And it's not just starting, it's staying. People with ADHD struggle with sustaining focus on mundane or routine tasks. The very tasks that make up cleaning are exactly the tasks their brain resists most. So they don't clean because they can't sequence it, not because they don't want to. Reason 2. Depression. Now here's where it gets harder to talk about. There's a term that's been circulating lately, the depression room. A depression room describes a living space that has become noticeably cluttered or chaotic because the person living in it is experiencing depression. The state of the room becomes a mirror of what is happening internally. Depression frequently involves a lack of interest in things that may have previously seemed necessary. So even if you're a naturally organized person, depression can remove your desire to clean entirely. A dimly lit, cramped room filled with mess sends the brain a subliminal message you can't even manage basic life tasks. That self-talk fuels hopelessness, and hopelessness makes the mess harder to clean, which makes the message louder. Depression makes cleaning hard. The mess makes depression worse. Reason 3. Indecision and procrastination. Okay, slightly lighter one, but still very real. Here's a question. Where does that pile of random stuff on your counter actually belong? With decisional procrastination, people often don't make a choice, so they can't be blamed for the outcome. If you don't want to decide where something goes or whether to keep or throw it, you avoid the decision, and so the clutter stays exactly where it is. And this compounds. When faced with a messy space, our brains have to make hundreds of micro-decisions. This cognitive overload often leads to procrastination because our minds get tired before we even begin. Reason 4. Psychological reactance. This one's a little sneaky. Have you ever had someone tell you to clean your room and suddenly your entire being resisted the idea, even though you were already thinking about cleaning it? Yeah, that's not a coincidence. The theory of psychological reactance suggests our motivation changes when our freedom to act freely is threatened or lost. When someone pressures us to declutter, we instinctively resist, not because we want the mess, but because we want our autonomy back. Research found that hesitant and indecisive people, those most prone to reactance, experienced significantly greater negative impacts from clutter than action-oriented individuals. So the mess piles up, not from defiance, from a brain that needs to feel like it's choosing. Now here's the part I want you to sit with. Everything we've covered so far, The ADHD, the depression, the indecision, the reactance, they all share something underneath them. The mess isn't the chaos. The mess is the response to chaos that already existed. Think about it. When someone is overwhelmed, exhausted, or running on empty, the first thing to go isn't work or relationships or responsibilities. It's the home, because the home is the only place where there are no consequences for letting things slide. The mess isn't a failure of discipline. It's the one place they finally stopped performing. So what actually helps? Not a cleaning schedule or a motivational quote, not another YouTube video about the 5-minute tidy method. The first thing is understanding which of these is actually happening. If it's executive dysfunction, not clean the kitchen. Go with something like wash 5 dishes. Concrete, completable, done. If it's depression, the mess isn't the thing to fix first. The person is. Even one cleared surface begins to shift the message the room is sending. If it's reactance, stop saying you have to clean. Say, I'm choosing to spend 10 minutes on this. Not a rule, a decision. So here's the truth about people who never clean their house. They're not lazy. They're usually carrying the heaviest internal loads, a brain that won't cooperate, an emotional weight too big to function through, a life that's demanded so much that the dishes are simply the last thing left on the list. The mess is a signal and not a moral failure. And once you learn to read it, you start to understand yourself or the people around you a whole lot better. If you found this helpful, you might want to check out this video as well. I'm sure you'll love it. And I'll see you in the next one. Till then, goodbye.